Every ranger who's worked Great Smoky Mountains long enough really learns to read the forest. The chatter of squirrels, the warning calls of crows, the rustle of wind through leaves. It's a constant symphony that tells you everything's working as it should. But my grandfather, who was Cherokee and worked these mountains for 40 years, taught me something the training manuals don't cover. When the forest goes completely silent, he said, something apex has arrived. And it's not a bear. I'm Daniel Swimmer, and I've been a backcountry ranger in the Smokies for 8 years. I thought I understood what my grandfather meant, how animals quiet down when a predator passes through. But that was before June 2023, when I learned the difference between natural silence and the wrong kind of quiet. The wrong kind announces something that shouldn't exist. I was on a routine patrol along the Alum Cave Trail, coordinates 35.6234 degrees, 83.4456 degrees, checking on a group of inexperienced hikers who'd registered for a summit attempt. The morning had been normal, humid, warm, the usual June cacophony of birdsong and insect noise. Then, around 11:15 a.m., everything stopped. Not gradually, not like animals sensing danger and going quiet one by one. All at once, like someone had hit a mute button on the entire forest. The silence was so complete I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. My footsteps on the trail sounded impossibly loud. Even the wind had died, leaving the leaves perfectly still. I keyed my radio. Base, this is Ranger 37. I'm experiencing unusual wildlife silence on Alum Cave Trail. Possible predator in area. Static. Then Janet's voice from the ranger station. Copy that, 37. What kind of predator are you thinking? Black bear? Unknown, but the silence is complete. I've never heard it this quiet. Use caution and continue to your waypoint. Let us know if you make visual contact with wildlife. I kept hiking, every sense on high alert. The silence followed me like a physical presence. No birds, no insects, nothing. Just the sound of my own breathing and the too loud crunch of my boots. That's when I found the hikers' abandoned packs. 3 of them, dropped on the trail like the owners had shrugged them off mid-step. One pack's waist belt was still buckled. Water bottles hung from the straps, full. Food bags unopened. People don't abandon their gear in the mountains, not unless something makes them run. Hello? I called out. My voice died in the dead air, didn't echo the way it should. Park Service, if you can hear me, call out! Nothing. Then I saw the tracks. Massive, barefoot, human-shaped but easily sized 20, maybe bigger. They led off trail into the dense rhododendron thicket, and they were accompanied by 3 sets of smaller human boot prints, running prints judging by the toe dig and spacing. The hikers had followed it or been herded by it. I pulled my sidearm, checked the chamber, and followed. My grandfather's voice echoed in my memory. The silence is a warning, Daniel. It means something so dangerous has arrived that every creature with sense has either fled or frozen. Do not ignore that warning. But 3 people were out there, maybe hurt, maybe dying. I had to try. The rhododendron was thick enough that I had to push through branches, thorns catching on my uniform. The silence was oppressive now, pressing against my eardrums like building pressure. And underneath it, I realized there was a smell, musky, organic, wrong, like a wet animal but with an undertone of rot. I found the first hiker 20 yards in. Young woman, maybe 25, sitting with her back against a tree. Her eyes were open but unfocused, staring at nothing. Breathing shallow, alive but not responsive. Miss, can you hear me? I shook her shoulder. No reaction. I checked her pulse. Steady but slow. No visible injuries. She just sat there. The second hiker was 10 yards further. Same thing. Male, early 30s, sitting against a fallen log. Eyes open. Not responding. Like someone had switched off their consciousness and left them running on autopilot. The third hiker I never found. But I found where he'd stopped. A cleared area in the rhododendron about 15 feet across. And in the center, pressed deep into the soft earth, a single massive handprint. 6 fingers, each one ending in what looked like a claw impression. That's when I heard it breathe. Behind me, close enough that I felt the heat of it on the back of my neck. I spun, gun raised, and saw nothing. Just the rhododendron in the unnatural silence. But I could feel it watching, could sense its presence the way you sense someone staring at you in a crowd. I know you're there, I said, my voice shaking. Show yourself. Movement in my peripheral vision. I turned and caught a glimpse, something massive, at least 7 feet tall, covered in dark hair. But the proportions were wrong. The limbs too long, torso too short, head too large. It moved behind a tree faster than something that size should be able to move. Then it did something that made my blood freeze. It spoke, not words, just a sound. But it was my grandfather's voice. The exact timbre, the exact inflection he used when he was about to tell me something important. Daniel, just my name, in his voice. Perfect mimicry. That's not possible, I whispered. He's been dead for 5 years. Daniel. This time it was my mother's voice, then my sister's, then Janet from dispatch. Then voices I didn't recognize, all saying my name, overlapping, creating a chorus that came from everywhere and nowhere. My grandfather's warning echoed louder. When the forest goes silent, something apex has arrived. This was what cleared the forest. This was what made every living thing shut up or flee, because it could be anything, sound like anyone. And if you stopped to listen, if you tried to understand, it had you. I grabbed the first hiker, hauled her over my shoulder in a fireman's carry, and ran. Left the second hiker, left my pack, left everything but the woman and my gun. My radio crackled as I crashed through the rhododendron. Re-7, where signal Brett, yup. 3 people need immediate extraction. I gasped into the radio. Alum Cave Trail, mile 2.3. Medical emergency. Unknown hostile presence in area. Request armed backup. The silence shattered. All at once, like that mute button had been released. Birds exploded into song. Insects resumed their buzzing. Squirrels chattered. The forest came alive again. And behind me, retreating into the mountains, I heard something massive crashing through the underbrush. Moving away. The forest silence followed it like a bow wave. Search and rescue found the other 2 hikers within an hour. All 3 were catatonic, unresponsive. They were evacuated to the hospital where they stayed for 3 days before snapping out of it. None of them remembered anything after the forest went quiet. No memory of following something, of sitting down, of me finding them. Just blank time. The official report listed it as a possible exposure to a natural gas pocket. Some theory about methane seeps from the limestone causing temporary neurological effects. The massive tracks were attributed to a hoax, teenagers with fake Bigfoot feet. But I filed a second report, the one that goes to the Cherokee cultural liaison, the one that only rangers with tribal connections see. I described everything, the silence, the tracks, the voices, the presence. The elder who reviewed it wasn't surprised. Tsuul'kalu, he said, slant-eyed giant. Your grandfather knew. That's why he taught you about the silence. It's the forest's way of warning us that we're not at the top of the food chain in these mountains. Not even close. But why did it let me go? Why did it let them go? You acknowledged it. You didn't try to fight or chase or understand. You just took what you could save and left. That's respect. That's following the old rules, even if you don't know you're following them. Here's what they don't tell you in ranger training. Great Smoky Mountains National Park receives over 12 million visitors a year. It's the most visited national park in America. And every year, despite all those people, there are vast stretches of forest that go silent. Areas where every bird, every insect, every animal shuts up or vanishes. We mark those on our internal maps. We note the dates and times. And we warn rangers, if you're on patrol and the forest goes silent, completely, unnaturally silent, you don't investigate. You don't search for the cause. You leave immediately. Because something apex has arrived. Something older than the park, older than the mountain's names, older than the trails we've carved through its territory. Something that can sound like anyone you've ever known and clear a forest of all life just by being there. Last month, a group of college kids went missing on Alum Cave Trail for 6 hours. When they were found, They were sitting in a clearing, unresponsive, staring at nothing. When they came out of it, they all reported the same thing. The forest had gone silent, and then they'd heard their parents calling them deeper into the woods. They'd followed the voices. I know what they encountered because I've felt it too. That presence, that wrongness, that thing that wears the forest like a coat and the voices of our loved ones like masks. If you visit Great Smoky Mountains, pay attention to the sounds. The constant noise is your friend. It means the forest is healthy, alive, functioning. But if you're hiking and everything suddenly goes silent, if the birds stop mid-song and the insects quit buzzing and even the wind dies, don't look for what caused it. Don't call out. Don't wait to see what emerges from the silence. Just run. Run back to the trailhead, back to your car, back to civilization. Because my grandfather was right. When the forest goes silent in the Smokies, something apex has arrived. And it's not here to be seen. It's here to hunt.